My people, what up, though? We back with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief,
And I'm Bell.
My name is Prentice.
and we got our homie player partner with us, Elliott Connie, to join the conversation tonight. We're gonna give you a little bit more about him in just a second. Matter of fact, we should go ahead and just do that right now before we even get to speaking. Brother is a psychotherapist. We're gonna get into that in a minute. An author, a thought leader in SFBT. Google it, but it's solution focused brief therapy. Author that I believe your current book is Change Your Question, Change Your Future. That's the current
That's
one,
right.
Elliot.
Change your question, change your future. That's right.
Right. So for those of you who don't know, I did a little bit of research and I'm like, what's the difference between a psychotherapist and an actual therapist? And I mean, therapists can be many different realms. You know, there's speech therapists, there's physical therapists.
Yep.
I guess Elliot, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I learned, a psychotherapist focus mostly on the mental component of it all, right? The
That's
mental
right.
health, right? Who
That's
provides
right.
therapy.
Psychotherapist focuses exclusively on mental health.
Okay, so there we go. So now you know the difference between a psychotherapist and a therapist. Now, is there any other therapy you dabble in, or just straight mental health therapy?
No, relationships and families, but all of it to me is connected to mental health.
Y'all getting a little feedback?
Yeah, I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if it's your mic, Elliot, or ours. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
I got no idea. Hold on.
Yeah, it's when you speak, we get a little bit of.
Maybe your mic is too high potentially. But while he's working through the technical difficulties, I just want to say, Elliot, that I've been a fan, and I actually learned from my brothers in the poetry world that I should use supporter instead of fan. But I've been a supporter slash fan for probably about 3 years now. So I remember sending clips to the guys like, man, listen to what he said, and we feature you in a number of episodes, and I've tagged you in stuff that we've done some time ago. But I just want to say before we even get started, and if you listen to our podcast, like we have a treatment, but it can always end up going a bunch of different ways. So just before we get, potentially go down a rabbit hole, I just want to say I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you've done by bringing awareness to the mental health space in general, which is fueled platforms like ours to just make it more inviting and more acceptable. So it's I have a quote that I always say is vulnerability creates community, and by you speaking on the big platforms you speak on and representing and being therapist to the people you are therapist for, it brings so much awareness, and it almost makes it not almost it makes it okay to not be okay and then to speak up. So I just want to say it's an honor for me to have you on, and we appreciate it.
No, for sure, man. And I think our platform, man, we we started it to just because a lot of people are afraid of the actual therapist or afraid to step into that space, man. So we made it a point to create a safe space for Black men to openly engage in conversations surrounding the mental health, man. And we wanted to do it from a space where it's non-traditional, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So we've been able to curate some pretty dope conversation, and our supporters have shown nothing but love, and we got people all over the world tapping in, and when you learn that you listen to in over 192 different countries, it's like, yo, we doing something. You know what I'm saying? We moving in a good direction. So we appreciate you for joining us, man. We're excited to get into the conversation, man.
That's crazy. Well, I'm super excited to be here too, man. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate it, and to know that my work has reached brothers like you as that means a lot to me. So thank you.
No doubt.
Yeah, man. I quote you often, and I'll weave the quote in at some point during this call. But yes,
All right.
your work does not go unnoticed. Your work does not go unnoticed.
Thank you.
All right, so Ellie, before we even
Wait,
jump
let's do our check-ins, Chief.
oh,
Let's
yeah,
let's. Okay.
can
My bad. No
before we even jump
disrespect.
into it,
No disrespect.
Here we
we have
go.
a joint that we do every just before we get in, because sometimes we have topics playing like Bell said, but then just the conversation can go left. So we like to just do a check in before we even begin everything. So Bellhead, do us a favor, man. Start it off. Check in. How you be? How you living? How
Yeah.
you feeling?
I'll go. I'm feeling good today. I had a great meeting today with a mutual friend of all three of ours. Um, and that was really good. It's very promising, and I'll say, man, it's I have a mentor. He's a founder of a $500 million company, and he says this thing. He says, a lot of people sometimes perceive more importance than they or project more importance than they actually are. He's like they may come off as very hard to get a hold of or very they play the game where it's okay, I have this big title. What you say? You're muted, Chief, if you're talking.
It sounds kind of
Yeah,
distorted a
your
little
mic
bit.
was sounding weird, but whatever you just did, it's better now.
I'll turn it down. Is that better?
Yeah.
No,
Yep. Okay.
put it up.
Up. Good.
You got to say something so I can
I
know.
I don't know why it's not working. I mean, I don't touch it. Like
You're
we
good. You're
touch the
good now.
beat.
You're good now. Keep it
All
while
right.
Yes,
you're right.
sir.
Anyway, long story short, he was saying that there's people who take their title too serious, essentially, and then they make it very hard for themselves to be reached. Where it's like, and what he said in his experience, all his billionaire mentors are accessible, and he's like, a lot of times we play a game with ourselves about who's available, who's not available. I say that to say one of the people I was speaking to today, who's very influential in her company. Not only did she make herself available, like she's like, yeah, we can catch up again tomorrow if you need to. So I feel good about people just doing right by people. So that's where I'm coming into this conversation today, feeling good about that. And then one of my partners flew in from Detroit today. There was a conference she attended here in Boston, and we had dinner tonight. So just really good day overall. So I feel good. I feel good.
That's what's up. P, how you living? How you feeling? Jet lag, bro? This brother was in Connecticut on Friday, back in Oakland on Saturday. Like,
Yeah, man. And then in Arizona, what, 4 days before that, got to
right.
get back out to New York next week. I'm good, man. It was good seeing y'all briefly, man. It's always a good when I
It's
We
always
just can't. We just can't win
my
tonight with
bad.
these technical difficulties.
Yeah, my bad, man. My daughter just called me. I ain't put on do not disturb. But it was good seeing y'all, man. It's always a good recharge when I see um the conference went really well. Shout out to the Dixwell Q House in New Haven, Connecticut. They had me out there doing some keynote speaking for the black men, the brothers who came through to the conference. Shout out to y'all. I made some new friends, which was really dope, man. I went out there with the mindset of, I needed to be there, one, for myself as a black male, but also I really want to make new friends. I want to expand my village and make myself, like you were talking about, Bell, more accessible. I think I went through a phase last year where I kind of was on that non-accessibility hype. You know what I mean? Like you get to a certain level and you just don't want to be as reachable, or dealing with, certain parts of the business just not being as accessible. So I've gotten that out of my head, man. It was good seeing Mia. It was a cool car drive with Chief. The conference was cool. I got back safe. Yeah, and everything's back in motion for me, man. So um, I'm feeling good. I'm in a good space, man. I'm in a good space.
that's what's up.
Chief, before you go, what's funny is I was looking back at the old episode where we had featured a clip from Elliott Connie, and in that episode we were like, we got to introduce Prentice to OG, and then
Right.
he met my dad this past weekend.
Yo, okay,
Tell
hold
him
up,
what he
hold
said
up,
about
hold up. So as soon as we got in the car, the first thing I said, Bell's pops is exactly who I thought he would be. Y'all described that man to a T. The only thing I didn't have was how he looked. But when it came to his energy, the way you imitate him, Bell, the way he talks, I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. Shout out to your pops, man. He was enjoyable. I didn't even have a conversation with him, man, and I love your pops now, man. Like,
That's he got that infectious energy, man. That's him. That's
yeah,
him.
man, that's great. That was great. That was great.
As soon as he got in the car, that nigga is exactly how y'all described him.
Exactly, blood. Exactly.
Yo, Elliott, man, what's good? How you be? How you living? How you feeling? What's going on in your world? Check in, B.
I'm look, the more you talk to me, the more you know. Like, I'm good every day. I appreciate.
I'm out. Whatever you did before worked, and then you touched something again. So now you
I did
like,
not touch
like
anything.
you mixing the record, cuz. we gonna figure it out, people. Don't worry about it.
It's just one of those days. Clearly, it's one of those
Y'all know
days,
how
man.
this go.
Yeah, it's like before Prentice got on, everything was fine. Like there was no issues. And then
Hey, man.
not that you were the issue with Prentice. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did they? What did?
I was
Go
in
ahead.
that. I was in
Oh,
that.
You
perfect.
You
They're
good?
perfect.
Man, you good.
And you was gonna see. I'm not touching nothing. You know, if you talk to me long enough, you'll notice that I'm good every day because I'm just so appreciative to be here.
Can you
I'm
pick your
so.
mic up a little bit, bro? Like you super far away from it. And I think
How's that?
It sounds fine to me. I mean, you definitely sound different, but I can hear you clearly.
yeah, you just sound super low to me.
How's that? Is that better?
A little bit, but go ahead, keep the party
Okay.
going.
I'm someone who I live in a space of very, very deep appreciation. So I'm in a good space in life, and on the days where I'm not in a good space, I appreciate those too because they give the other days value. And I once prayed for the problems I have today versus the problem 30 years ago. So I'm in a super duper good space and don't even know how to not be.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, that's definitely so. For me, fellas, all is well. Submitted my final paperwork on Friday for this admin licensure.
Boom.
I'm just waiting to hear back now. That feels good. I learned today my shorty is number 3 in her class.
Academically,
Academically,
that's what's
number
up.
3 in the class, so that made me feel good.
How many people in the class?
290, something like that. like 290. That ain't bad.
About 27.
I thought you about to say 13.
Number 3 in the freshman class, bro. You know.
That's
That's
what's
what's
up.
up, man.
Yeah, so that's cool. Outside of that, the boys are good, man. Nothing to complain about right now. It's great because all of us are in this good space. Normally, one of us got some shit going on. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so this is kind of feels good that we're all like in this really cool, stable place right now. So salute to everybody. Salute to the OG up top for keeping us, in good spirits and whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So Elliott, before we jump into our questions and all that good stuff, off the top, I mean, it's always hard to talk about yourself, but what should the people know about you outside of what we've already told them?
Man, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I'm someone. What should they know about me? Whatever they want to know. Like I'm a black dude who's constant pursuit of authenticity, and I believe that authenticity is the key to strong mental health. And I write books and travel the world giving lectures, do things like this online to help spread that message.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, as Bell was saying, we a while ago.
Segue into
Hold on. So we a while ago we had an episode where a conversation you had on the Breakfast Club inspired our entire episode. So I'm gonna play this clip real quick and then just give us your take on it.
Okay, sure.
segue into the conversation we having today. So today's conversation, fuck you, mom and dad.
Fucking out of here.
But that's what we're gonna title it. But the more the premise, Bell, you can break down the premise what we talking
So
about.
the other day, it was a viral clip. I guess everything the Breakfast Club do is viral. But had Elliott Connie on, who's a psychotherapist, and it was I watched the whole episode. But when you initially see the clip, it's like, your kid he almost said like it's okay for your kids to disrespect you, right? Like he justified how what a kid can be, what we deem as being disrespectful actually isn't disrespectful. It's a kid finding their voice.
Being inquisitive.
You know what I'm saying? Being inquisitive.
Asking questions.
And exactly, right? So I thought that was interesting because at first it was, again, the clickbait was like it's
I
okay
think-
for kids.
Yeah,
to,
I believe kids should disrespect their
yeah,
parents.
yeah. That's
what he
what
said.
the clickbait was, and I'm like, whoa. Well, we need to dig in here. And then I watched it, and I'm like, okay, it's not exactly that, but it's in the same vein. You know what I mean? So that's like, it'll be a good episode for us to talk about.
Okay, so
That was a couple years ago. Do you remember that
That was.
episode on the
I
Breakfast
do
Club?
remember that. The whole internet came after me when I said that. I do remember that.
say word. They's in your DMs or just in the comments going crazy on you.
Everything. The comments, I had news people calling me.
Really?
Yeah, the internet went nuts when I said that.
And let me ask you, do you find the people that are going nuts, it's because they like context matters, right? And they only watched that clip, and they like I said, I watched the whole episode because I'm like, because it was
Right.
triggering at first, So just context, Elliot. I was a teen dad, so I had my daughter when I was 15, and I got custody of her when she was 3, and now she's 28, and I also have a 5-year-old. So we're all parents, right? So when I saw it, I'm like, okay, I respect everything this guy says, so I need to lean in to find out what he really means, because it can't be as simple as I think they should disrespect their parents, or whatever the context was. So do you find it's because they just take a piece of what you said, or do you think they listen to it in totality and still have venom for you?
I actually think it's both. So the Breakfast Club is very good at doing what they do. So they clicked it up and titled it in a way that would trigger people to get them to interact. Can you hear me?
Your mic still sound like it's just popping.
Yeah, we might just have to muscle through it. It's fine, man. I don't.
Hold on, I'm gonna try one thing real quick.
If he has a solution, let's see.
All right, how we doing?
Perfect, man.
Let's go.
Perfect. Let's go. Yeah.
All right, give me a sign if it screws up.
Maybe you just have to log out. I don't know, but that's perfect. That's perfect. Now, now watch your Prentice start talking. It's gonna be staticky.
Yeah, God, this is crazy. Okay, and by the way, I'll hang out online and we'll do the whole interview. I don't want that to screw up the interview.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so the Breakfast Club are very, very. You know what? I'm gonna put my phone on airplane mode in case that was screwing up things too. There were people responding in very vicious ways who hadn't even watched the clip. Like, it was very obvious. They were just responding to the title. And then there were people who watched it and they were like triggered by me saying, because anytime you say something that's against the culture, and things like corporal punishment is just a part of our culture. And I was questioning why. Like we should stop. So we talked about football before we hit record. And this past weekend, there was a very disrespectful moment that happened on one of the games where one of the players spat on another player. And we know, that's one of the most disrespectful things you can do to another person. But at what age do you learn that? Like, at what age do you know this is an act of disrespect? Now, as children, we don't know what disrespect is or isn't. We're just figuring out that we have this mouth and we can say things and we can experiment with how we say things and what we do. It's part of identity development. It's part of confidence development. So when your child is young and they talk back in the Black home, that typically will lead to a lot of punishment and the perception that my child is being disrespectful. When really what they're doing, they're just practicing defending themselves, articulating their opinion, saying what they think. Now, I'm not saying parents should excuse it. Like, you should punish it. You should parent it. You should address it. But if you perceive your child as being disrespectful, then we're going to have a tendency to respond in anger instead of understanding this is just part of the learning developmental process. This is how people learn.
Right. And I didn't know how to receive it. That's why I wanted to listen to it. And then once I listened to it, I'm like, okay, I get it. And again, which spawned a whole episode from us because of the thought-provoking comments you made and stance you took, because it was like on our episode, we talked about as kids growing up, we couldn't ask qualifying questions because
No, at
that
all.
was considered disrespectful, and it's like the way we quantify disrespect, for me at least, was derived from childhood. You
Yeah,
talk back, disrespectful. You suck your teeth, disrespectful. Like all these things, and that will be treated as such. So
that's right.
I
In the
I
in the
was
black
Go
culture,
ahead.
I think we confuse silence with respect, and we need to start teaching people what actual respect is. And we confuse blind compliance with respect.
Mm,
And we need to start teaching people like what is respect and what is the act of showing respect, because it's not just being silent, and it's certainly not just blind compliance. But we've seen it all the time. Like if you see a kid that follows all the rules, the parent will say like, I have such a good kid. But
Mhm.
that's actually not how you raise children. It's not about following all the rules. And we know that. Like we all of us having children at some point and being at different stages of development, you don't want your child growing up doing everything somebody else says to them. Like you
Right.
want them to know how to stand up for themselves. Where do you think children practice that particular skill first? They practice it on their parents. Now, when I said that, people went nuts. And my point was, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm a very credible source with which to say what I said.
So how do you personally, how do you, or do you find resolve in that? It's like, okay, I said what I said, you responded as such, and I don't really give a damn. Or it's like, do they does it impact you? I guess is a simpler way to say it.
No, not so much. It fuels me because
Mm,
I know that our culture needs to heal and our culture needs to grow and evolve. And I also know the first person to throw a stone is going to be the first person attacked. Um, but I know that what I'm saying is rooted in truth.
right.
Like I know that what I'm saying is absolutely 100% psychologically true. Um, so I feel really good about it, and the fact that people responded that way, it made me fulfilled. I think is a good word.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I hate to be the one to derail the conversation, but when you mentioned when the dude spat on the other dude, you immediately went to where did he learn that from?
No, no,
Now,
no. When did he learn
when did he
that it
learn
was a
that?
disrespectful act?
Right. So with that level of with that level of disrespect, I mean, I think all of us know that we discussed already. It's one of the most disrespectful things you could do to somebody.
Yes.
In all of your healing phases and being this, well-rounded, established, mentally clear man, how how does one because it's up, like the what's his name said, it's up for me. Like I don't know all the healing I've been trying to do. If you spit on me, there's gonna be some smoke. As their therapist, how are you addressing that situation? Like, or let's step back. As a man, you're in a situation you got spat on with all the healing you've been doing and so on and so forth. How do you respond in that nature?
I'm beating his ass, and I
Like
and I don't.
Elliot, like don't get it twisted, bro. I'm from Mattapan, bro.
I'm
Don't get
just
it
I'm just
twisted.
asking because
But
I don't ever want to fight another day in my life. But if a
but
Well, at
brother
least
but
you
spit
you're
on
not
spit
in
me,
on him.
charge of that.
right,
You're not in charge of that. If you were walking in the mall earlier, you said you had a daughter who's a freshman, right?
mhm.
Okay. If you were walking in a mall and I happen to walk past you and your daughter and I shove her on the ground and kick her, are you and I gonna have a fight?
You don't get a chance to get the kick off. so,
Right.
so
So
yeah,
we have to not think that somehow someone who is healing is now all of a sudden like a Buddhist monk. Because
Mm,
healing means authentic. And let me give you an example. All right, I'm gonna tell you a great example. When I was a kid, I played football and we had a football banquet, right? I was probably like, let's say 11 years old. I rode my bike to this football banquet. True story. I'm not actually proud of this, but true story. I rode my bike to this football banquet, and I parked my bike outside. And as we're getting in line to go inside the building, this big bully kid who was on a team older than me took my bike and threw it against the wall. Is it staticking again?
It's not as bad, but it's
Not as
doing
bad.
something.
It's picking up again. Finish your story. We'll adjust that.
Okay. So he picked my bike up and he threw it against the wall. I pretended not to see it and went into the thing. And all these kids came up to me like, hey, this guy named Adam he's bashing your bike against the wall. I just pretended it wasn't happening. At the end of the night, I go up and to leave, and my bike is torn to pieces. Now, the reason that happened was my father was beating the hell out of me. I had absolutely no confidence whatsoever, including the confidence to stand up to myself. I had absolutely no self-esteem. In order to stand up for yourself and people you love, you have to have some level of self-esteem. And I had none of it. So I just took this person's bullying. So now I'm a much more healed version of me. And if I walk outside and someone is bashing my car, we're going to have some smoke, because I now have the ability to stand up for myself. And I now have the ability to say, damn the consequences. You are going to have to deal with my anger right now because you are doing something to provoke anger. So this idea that like, just because I'm a much more healed version of me, like I'm somehow a Buddhist monk. No, if you spit on me, we have a problem immediately.
I've always had an issue with that, just that idea when it comes to the idea of healing, that once you get to a certain stage, if you respond in a way that isn't Buddhist like, you've reverted back to past behavior. I've always had an issue with that. And so it's super helpful to hear you say that. You know what I mean? People that you respect, people who are validated in their education and their thoughts say that, because I've never believed that it's not okay to resort to violence. It's necessary sometimes.
It is absolutely necessary. And that's why, like, I appreciate Chief saying I never want to have another fight in my life. And I don't. I never want to have another fight in my life. But I'm not totally in charge of that. If I get accosted, abused, assaulted, or threatened, I'm going to respond as a person who is capable of defending themselves.
You know, it's interesting because I don't know if we did an episode on this, Elliot, if we just made it it came up in the topic, but the one thing I'll say, and I would love your perspective, but the one thing I'll say is the unintended consequence of making mental health more prominent and slowly removing the stigma from our community and as it pertains to mental health. The unintended consequence of that is, I feel, and again, I want to hear your perspective, I feel people take clips from therapists, hear buzzwords from therapists, and then they just adapt them with no education and then start labeling people, right? And I say all of that to say that I feel that prior to this conversation, one would have thought potentially, if you are healed, you should not be violent in any capacity, no matter what the circumstances are. You shouldn't be able to be provoked to that point if you are healed. So hearing you break that down, where it's like you don't have any control over that, right? Because at the end of the day, what I'm hearing is you're still a man, you're still a woman, you're still a person who has confidence and defend themselves. Like, you still have to stand up for yourself. But I think sometimes people can project what they deem as therapy based on buzzwords that they hear in statements, and then they say, okay, well, this is what that means. Where it's like you haven't even educated yourself enough. You're just regurgitating what you said in a irresponsible manner in a lot of times. So that's what I feel like there has been like that. If there's one negative to point out, it's like we use the internet to be our teachers, you know?
I absolutely think we use the internet to be our teachers. people use memes as if they're like some sort of a point of education.
Yep.
And there's not enough people realizing like we don't measure the quality of somebody's mental health based upon whether or not they get angry or not. The most important factor, to be honest with you, is does the response match the trigger? So, like Chief was saying, if I went and shoved his daughter down and I went to go kick her and he physically attacked me to stop me from kicking her, then the trigger matched the response. Now, if I cut Chief in line at Starbucks and he attacks me, then the trigger does not match the response. So this idea that like I can tell you guys, like I'm a violent man, but I'm capable of control. The healing was me developing the ability to control it. It's not somehow I'm no longer violent. I am aware that I am capable of violence. And I mean that in a global sense. Like I'm capable of verbally defending myself. I'm a very articulate writer. I'm capable of making videos and writing. I'm capable of going on the attack. But I can control it. And the healing came from like the control came from me going on a healing journey and realizing I don't need to do it in this circumstance because this does not match the level of aggression that I'm capable of going to.
I feel like also that just gives me the thought that for some people on their healing journey, I think having those experiences and reacting differently than they have before is necessary, right? Like not everybody knew how to defend themselves growing up, you know. So you become this adult who gets into these confrontations and situations, and you don't know how to stand up for yourself, which I feel like can beat yourself up even more. You can look down at yourself as a result of that. So I feel like some people, it's not a matter of them reverting back; it's a matter of them learning how to actually do it.
That's 100% true. I did not defend myself while I was growing up as a child, and I told y'all one example. I could tell you several more where I did not know how to defend myself because I was not instilled with any level of self-value. My father was an abusive, angry man, verbally and physically. So you don't even realize that you are valuable. So when people start treating me poorly, I just wanted to get out of the situation rather than, no, I can assert my dominance right now and make you stop. I had to learn that. And I didn't learn that until I was in college.
So I think for me, P, it's the exact opposite, bro. I think it was all about defending myself in fear of the judgment that came with it or looking a certain way. So everything became a confrontation for a while. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was physical or not, everything was something I wanted to exert my power over or whatever. So that's why I say that now. So that's why, to your point, like I carry that mindset where like I don't ever want to fight again because I'm afraid of reverting like back to that mentality. Like I didn't, and it's crazy because I lived that life, and until I'm not even going to front, until maybe like 10 years ago in my college group chat, I didn't even realize that I was the angry black guy on the team. Had no clue.
You always say that about that group chat.
No clue. You know what I'm saying? So like, when to hear that, like people avoid it because they didn't have that, and I think it was the same thing. Even if I didn't have that confidence, I displayed it by chumping people, or fighting. You know what I'm saying? In that regard.
Do you feel like now, if situations popped up, you'd refrain because of your fear? Because I feel like there got to be a balance, right? Like you could be on one side, and then I think it could be detrimental if you fall back on this super passive fence. Do you feel like if the situation permitted, you could handle yourself properly and not feel guilty about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if I ever fight again, it's necessary.
Okay.
But I also think
that.
Yeah. And I think Elliott said something that was very telling for me. He was like, it's healing is about when does the trigger match the response.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a period, Chief, that we talked about, your responses sometimes didn't match the trigger, you know, and that like to what you're talking about as the angry guy on the team. I think you were so easygoing, maybe to a detriment, because when something happened, it was up, like it wasn't progression. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's where I think that was like the most impactful thing out of what he was saying to me is like there's a trigger match the response. Like that's the healing part. It's like, okay, if somebody cuts you in Starbucks, you slap the shit out of them. It's like, are you healed? You know, it's like, are you on the journey? You know what I mean? So it's like that's the part. And Prentice, I think you're the same way. Like your,
Definitely.
your responses don't be matching the triggers.
Nah, they don't. They don't. So I try to avoid the triggers.
Oh my God. And it's funny because if I had to think about that for myself, I'm like, I think my triggers or my responses are more methodical. Like if somebody did something to trigger me, I'm gonna get my lick back, but it may not be right now. You know what I'm saying? Like in that same vein, like whereas Chief, somebody's cut him in Starbucks, and I'm not saying you would, but just in this example, slapping him. Whereas somebody cut me in Starbucks, and if it made me feel a certain way, I might get his license plate number and then
Yeah.
find out where he lives. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
like that.
Catch him on the way to work, like stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
that's where like my mind goes. And obviously, if there's a whole fight or flight, then yeah, that's another conversation. But in terms of how I'm personally triggered, sometimes it's not like I'm gonna show you right now. It's like you're never going to forget what just happened. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those situations.
Right.
But
I have a question for you, Elliot. How do you recommend like brothers who struggle with that whole idea of fight or flight? You know what I mean? Because I've definitely struggled with the concept of um, knowing when to and knowing that it was okay for me to flee, right? Like just knowing that it was okay, but feeling like, I should have, you know what I mean? But I didn't, and this whole time I've been trying to, you know, um, find that balance between making the better decision, not jumping off the deep end. And then when I actually don't jump off the deep end, I don't feel a sense of accomplishment. I feel like maybe I may have let myself or somebody else down that, I was supposed to, I don't know, defend or how to absorb and deal with the disrespect and the aftermath. Even if it's not disrespect, just something that wasn't kind, that's hard for you to absorb. How do you recommend we kind of deal with like the aftermath of that, like the residual effect, so that it doesn't shape our thoughts moving forward to be something that we can't do again? Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I think I've a two-part answer, and the first part is become highly, highly, highly self-aware. Because when you are self-aware, you are capable of giving people grace. And there are times where, like, to continue this example, somebody would cut me off in Starbucks, and I will give them grace. You know what? They're having a bad day. They're not at their best right now, and I want to be at my best. So, like, if I can look the other way because you cut me off in Starbucks, so be it. Like, this is my opportunity to show you grace, and I'm sure there are days where I need somebody to show me grace. So becoming highly self-aware and realizing that, like, part of my journey in life is about me being my best self at all times. But sometimes my best self is aggressive. So if someone is putting me or someone I love under threat, like I can't imagine if Chief somebody runs by the mall, pushes his daughter down, and takes her pocketbook and takes off running. If Chief just stand there and he goes, "Help!" like like that's probably not the version of him he wants to be. And you have to become really aware of who you want to be, and that thing cannot and should not be driven by other people's opinions of you.
Hmm.
it's deep.
Hmm.
Right. And I think a lot of it for a while was based on what might be thought of or said about me. Like now I have no problem walking away from like tense situations unless you know what I'm saying? Like the fight ain't happening unless it's necessary. Talk all you want, bro. You enter my personal space or violate in a certain way, then it's on. But like I'm comfortable with walking away from a fight and being called a punk or all those names now. It's like it's cool. I can live with that.
Right.
I have a question, and I want to definitely get into the book. So I know you mentioned self-awareness and being able to give people grace. I'm not saying there's one answer to this, but what, in your experience, when people aren't willing to give people grace, what do either what aren't they seeing in themselves, or what haven't they developed in themselves, or what part of the healing journey have they not gotten to where they just can't give people grace? Like again, trigger doesn't match the response.
Yeah. Well, I immediately know that you're only capable of being as kind to other people as you're willing and able to be towards yourself. So if you are snapping at people and you're overreacting to everything, then you're not being kind enough to yourself, and you're not giving yourself grace, and you're not giving yourself forgiveness. And most people have never asked themselves, who do I want to be? We spend a lot of time thinking about who I don't want to be. And we spend a lot of time thinking about what I do want in terms of career, money, et cetera, et cetera. But we don't spend enough time thinking about, like, who is it I want to be? And for me, a model in my life has always been Nelson Mandela. Now, Nelson Mandela was massively important in my own psychological journey, more important than any therapist or anything, because I can remember growing up in a very difficult, fear-based, very violent home, and going to school and being taught that Nelson Mandela was wrongfully imprisoned. And then I read his book, and I was like, that brother wasn't long. He did exactly what they accused him of doing. They accused him of being a terrorist and setting bombs and doing all of these things. He did exactly what they accused him of doing because he was fighting back against unjust laws. And Nelson Mandela, to me, is the greatest example of discipline and violence existing in the same human. And the reason I say that is because he knew the law is unjust, so thus I must fight it. And then when he came out of prison, people say he came out with forgiveness. No, he didn't. He came out with strategy. He had a very different way of fighting social justice after 27 years of being in prison. So most people don't spend enough time getting to know themselves. Most people don't spend enough time getting to know what they actually want. Most people don't spend enough time trying to figure out who they want to be as an actual person, because then when you know who you want to be as a person, then you can show up as that person. And for me, the journey towards that is literally sitting with yourself and saying, like, who is it I want to be? Not what kind of car I want to drive, what kind of clothes I want to wear, or how much money I want in the bank account, but like, who do I want to be when I show up in this world?
And I think I teach this inclusive workshop. It's called Build Your Brand. And we say in that workshop, you have to be able to brand yourself or someone will do it for you.
Facts. I completely agree with that.
And I think that's I love that. Like, and not to go too deep into it, but my daughter, she sees a therapist and she tells me, she's like, Dad, I focus so much on not being like the other parent, where it's like I'm just doing my best not to be like that. Where it's like, and her therapist is like, well, you have a great example in your dad, but it's like I shouldn't say she can't. She's working through trying to be more like what she aspires to be versus who she doesn't want to be. You know what I mean? And she's not alone, right? Like a lot of when there's trauma, it's easy to be like, I don't want to be that person, right? And versus there's so many examples of great people that helped you through that, or that you saw during that process, that you could easily emulate yourself after. But it's I don't know if it's psychological or chemical, but it's something that exists in a lot of people, is my point.
I think that's absolutely true. I think most of us, they focus on what they don't want to be. I don't want to be broke. I want to lose weight. Like, we just focus on the negative. Imagine if people started saying, I'm going to the gym to gain health instead of losing weight, right? Like, Like that little simple mind shift, it changes absolutely everything. But most people, we are so problem focused that we try to figure out what the problem is so we can avoid it. But what if we can be abundance focused? And then you can figure out what the joy is that I'm in pursuit of, and then go after that. But that's not normally how the human brain is organized. And we don't even realize that literally just being problem focused is a contributor to the problem.
Big facts. Bars.
Well, it's true. Couples will come to my office and they will be like, "We're here so that you can teach us how to fight fair." And I was like, I remember saying to a couple early in my career, I said, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, "Well, look, let me tell you why that's so stupid. If I successfully teach you how to fight fair, the only way you could possibly know that it worked is to get into another fight, which is ridiculous. What if we had a conversation to where you never had another fight again? Now, you might have a disagreement, or you might have something where you're not seeing eye to eye, but what if we created a circumstance within your relationship where you never had another fight ever again?" And then people are like, "Oh, that sounds so much better." I'm like, of course it does. But we're so like, I want to understand the problem and try to avoid it, that we don't even realize that just that alone makes the problem continue to exist, which to me makes absolutely no sense.
There's a quote: "Thoughts are things, and what you're thinking, you're becoming." You know,
that's 1,000% true.
But a lot of it, and even to circle it all up, like a lot of it is just how we speak to ourselves in general. Like just being able to reframe our language. Like I would often say, and through the podcast, the guys check me all the time. I would often be like, "Yeah, I'm just not good with social media, man, and posting and stuff." Like, you know what? I'm getting better at social media. Has even a little bit more of a positive connotation than I'm just not good at it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm getting.
Well,
See, Chief. Oh my God. Okay. So I coach and mentor people all the time, bro. And people say to me, "Man, I don't like social media. I'm not good at it." And I always, not only do I want you to say I'm getting better at social media, just remove the word social media altogether. Because something that the four of us share in common, which is why I'm so excited to be on this podcast. And I get invited to do a whole bunch of stuff all the time, but I genuinely was happy to do this. And the reason why is because I have gone all in for about 20 years on bringing mental health on a bigger platform. That's actually why I started writing books. That's why I started traveling, giving lectures. That's why I moved my stuff online. So what I would say to people, including Chief, forget calling it social media. You have an extraordinarily powerful message, and through what you guys have built, you have an extraordinarily important platform. All social media is the ability to reach new people for free. So just reach new people for free. Like that's all it is. Like the amount of people that you're going to reach with this podcast episode is the equivalent of a Super Bowl ad in 1998. But a Super Bowl ad in 1998 would have cost you $5 to $10 million for 30 seconds. In 2025, it's free. So if you feel like I feel called to put mental health in front of more Black men's faces, you have no choice but to post. And it don't matter whether it's social media or not. It's just the ability to reach people for free. And that's an incredibly important and powerful shift.
Love it. I want to get into your book, Elliott, because I want to make sure that we give you the space to market, and obviously it speaks to our mission and vision as well. So talk to us about the title. Change your questions, change your future.
Well, it goes back to what Chief was just saying. Like what we say to ourselves impacts our lives. And most people, like you've probably heard psychotherapists and mental health professionals talking often about self-talk and all that kind of stuff. But me and my colleagues would tell you the questions you ask yourself and the questions you ask other people will determine what your life looks like more than anything else. So I spent like 20 years studying nothing but how to ask questions that leads towards change. That's actually the root and basis of the kind of therapy that I do. So people who walk around and they say like, why me? Those people don't tend to have a very successful life. People who say, why not me? They have a much more successful life. People who ask themselves, who do I want to be? Have a much more successful life than people who say, who do I not want to be? So it's really important that we craft questions in our own mind and we ask questions of the people around us. I remember I went to a meeting, a business meeting early in my career. And it was real new. And it was one of those meetings where like, I'm too young to be talking about the kind of stuff we're talking about in this meeting. It was big dollars and with a bunch of executives. And so I'm in there doing the best that I can. And me and this new therapy practice that I had started back in like 2007, 2008, we're trying to get this contract. And we left the meeting and one of the guys in that meeting said, okay, what could we have done better? And I was like, that's the dumbest question ever, because you were focusing on everything that went wrong. And since there's nothing perfect, if you ask yourself, what can we have done better? You're going to find opportunities to think about things you could have done better. And then you're going to not feel good about the thing you had just done. If that person had said, what did we do well? That's a very different question. It's going to lead to a very different outcome. And I think we have to spend more time asking the kinds of questions that are in line with who we want to become. And most people just don't. They just don't do it.
And in your experience, you think, or have you found that people don't ask the questions because they don't want to know the answer?
I definitely think there are times people don't want to, they don't ask the questions, they don't want to know the answer. But most of the time, I think we don't ask the right questions because we haven't even realized that there are questions that will change your life.
Yeah, I asked that because I feel like there's and definitely social media, you get more exposure to people's lives and what's happening, what's going on. Prentice talks about this a lot, how your environment can kind of shape what you deem as good or what you deem as success or what you deem as like what your future could be. So it's almost like you're being influenced and you're not spending the time with yourself to ask those questions. And then you marching on your own path. It's like, oh, well, this car looks good, so I should have that because this person who's doing well, they have that, versus where do I want to go and what type of car will I need to get me there? Or like to I guess I'm belaboring a point, but the reason why I ask the people not want to know the answers is because I think it goes back to self-awareness. And it's like, if you know yourself, sometimes you don't ask the questions because you don't want to hear the answer aloud. Like I say things out loud sometimes because it hits for me different when it's audible versus something in my head. So that's why I was wondering if that comes up as like a deterrent for people to just exist versus questioning their existence.
I think that's true. And by the way, when you say something out loud, you're now accountable to it.
Exactly.
And I think people just don't even realize, like, you did something really, really special, Bell. Like, you played Division I football.
Right.
And there are kids that will see you and they will find that out about you and they will ask you the wrong question. They will ask you a question like, what was that like? And the answer to that question is totally useless. It doesn't do anything. But if they ask the question, how did you do that? That's a very valuable answer. Because then they can replicate the things that you did to put yourself in that situation. And then they can have a similar experience. But if they say, what was that like? You're going to tell them and they're going to be like, oh, wow, that sounds really cool. But if they say, how did you do that? You're going to talk about, I had to study and I had to get good enough grades to qualify for school. I had to work out. I had to go to the gym. I had to practice really hard. I had to get noticed. I had to do and then these kids start completely thinking different. And I'm aware of all of these self-help books, and me and my colleague, the guy by the name of Dr. Adam Frower, I was like, man, I want to write a self-help book that really honestly will teach people how to think differently about life. And the root of all life is the kind of questions that you ask.
Love
So
that.
so how do you recommend somebody untrains their brain from asking the wrong questions and retrains it to ask the correct ones? Is there a strategy behind that?
Buy my book.
I knew that's where that was going.
There you go.
I love it. I love it.
No.
There we
I would
go.
I would say it's just like anything else. Like anything you want to train, you have to do it with repetition. So the first thing I would say is every single day, ask yourself 2 questions. Who am I becoming? And is that the person I want to become? If you ask yourself that question every single day, it's going to start literally rewiring your brain.
Love it.
That's fair. So, Elliot, at what point? I mean, I know we talked about mental health not being something that was talked about a lot growing up.
Yes.
When would you say like mental health became your thing?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like we all like when was it like okay? Because we all deal with mental health battles here and there. We've experienced things that can be deemed mental health. We didn't identify it as such.
Yes.
So at what point did it like click for you?
I was 19 years old. I can tell you I know the moment it happened. So growing up, I'm going to tell you kind of a longer story that I'll try to keep,
Do your thing.
But I always viewed college. So I heard like a rumor that college had dorm rooms. And I talked to my best friend's older brother, like, what's a dorm room? And he told me on a college campus, they build this housing where all of the students live. And I said, do your parents live there with you? And he was like, no, it's all the students. And I immediately thought to myself, I got to get in one of those dorm rooms, because that gave me hope that I could live somewhere other than where my dad was, and I could have peace. So the first school I went to, and I love talking to Chief and Bell about this. Prentice, you might know about this, but Bell and Chief probably definitely do. The first school I went to was University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth. And I needed to get to that dorm room. And I will never forget, I got into that school. I went to go play football and baseball there. Football was the first sport because it happens in the fall. My dad brought me to the campus, and he drove me around campus. And I was so excited because, like, he's about to drop me off, leave me in his dorm room, and I'm going to have peace for the first time in my life. And then he handed me a beeper. You guys remember beepers from back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
He handed me a beeper, and he used that beeper to torture me. And I remember thinking, I can't escape this dude, because he would call me, he would beat me, and if I didn't call him back, he would drive to my college campus and beat me up in front of my friends. So I just felt like my escape route didn't work, and I got really suicidal, like to the point where I just got really, really dark and in a bad place. By that time, my mother, we needed to move to Texas. I went back and forth. Am I going to stay in school in Massachusetts, or I'm going to move? So anyway, I moved to Texas, and now I'm 19 years old, and I'm laying in my college dorm room, and I knew I'm going to take my life. I knew when I was going to do it. I knew how I was going to do it. Like I was gone. And one day I was laying in my dorm room, and I don't know if you guys have ever had a moment where you knew for sure God was tapping you on the shoulder. And I was laying in my dorm room, and I was about a week away from this moment where I knew I was going to take my life. And I was taking a nap. And while I was napping, I had this thought. And I started thinking about what my eulogy would look like. And I started thinking about all my friends going up to the front of the church and talking about, I didn't know Elliot was this sad. I didn't know Elliot was in this kind of trouble. I didn't know Elliot. And I didn't want them to talk about me. I wanted them to talk about my punk ass dad. I wanted them to say, I didn't know his father was such a tormentor. I didn't know his father was so mean. I didn't know his father was so abusive. So when I woke up from that nap, I realized, like, I can't die with people not knowing the truth. Like I need them to know that my dad is what is the root of my trouble. There's nothing wrong with me. He's torturing me. So I started thinking about how do I outlive this pain so I could tell the truth. So I started reading books about hope. And it sounds like a ridiculous thing for a 19-year-old to do, but I started reading books about hope. That's actually what drew me to Nelson Mandela's book, Long Walk to Freedom. Because I started thinking, like, that dude was in prison for 27 years. How did he do that? And so I started reading all these things. And at the time, my major was marine biology, but I got so addicted to this idea of hope. I went to my advisor and I said, I want to change my major to psychology because I want to understand. And then I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I started thinking about, like, what do I want to do with this? And I got the opportunity to go to graduate school to get a master's degree. And while I was in graduate school, I realized that none of the professors are talking. Like, I had just used hope to literally save my life. But in graduate school, they're not talking to me about hope. They're talking to me about problems. They're talking to me about depression and anxiety and addiction. I was like, but no. When are we going to talk about hope? Because hope is actually what changes everything. And I realized in that moment that it's my job to do it. So I knew when I graduate, I'm going to start a therapy practice, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure everybody knows the most powerful substance on this planet is hope.
That's what's up. Shout out to you. Appreciate you for
Yeah.
sharing the story, man.
Thank
For
you.
real.
That's powerful.
No, sure, damn sure it's powerful. And hope is a
It is so well. First of all, I appreciate you guys for hearing it. Like, that's really, really true. But I want people to really understand how powerful hope is. And most people haven't heard about the mouse study on hope. But these scientists, this is a true story, but this is just how powerful hope is.
Is this the swimming story?
Yes. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell it. Go ahead.
Tell it for the people. Yep, for sure.
Okay. But there's this study where they took these mice and they put them in water and they let them swim around in this pool of water until failure, meaning until they started to sink and drown. When they started to shrink and drown, the researchers pulled them out of the water, dried them off, and then immediately put them back in the water. Now, the first time that they were swimming around until failure, they started to drown at about 15 minutes. They got taken out of the water, dried off, and then immediately put back in the water. The next time they experienced failure and started to drown was 60 hours later. And the researchers realized that the difference between the first attempt to swim and the second attempt to swim is because they'd been saved the first time, the mice had hope that they'd be saved again if they could just continue going. And they continued treading water for 60 hours. Hope is so powerful that if you tell a person, like, if you can get through this, your life will be better. If they really believe it, they will be able to go through anything. So that means our job is to give people hope that they can really believe, not empty hope or false hope, but like hope that you can really, really get through this. And I don't think that we talk about that enough. And when I was 19 years old, I realized, oh, hope is some powerful shit. And I don't think anybody knows that. Like, nobody talks about it. And I knew that's going to be my life mission.
This is some powerful shit. No, I believe that, man. I think the shitty part about it, though, man, is that it almost takes us having to have gone through those super dark phases and those super shitty moments to realize that, you know, that light ain't that brighter light or that brighter day isn't too far away. So I carry the same sentiment. So you come from a real dark place where, like, something happens and it's just like, yeah, I don't think I can ever go back there again. Like, you know, right. I won't be in that place again. Like, dude, like, I can't see myself being that dark anymore. So it's like all we have to look forward to is the great things. Like, the bad things gonna happen. When they do, I'll be all right. I'll get over it. I'm not gonna go back there again because
that's right. That's absolutely right.
Get conditioned to kind of like just know that there's a brighter day coming.
That's absolutely right. And I know people. I'm a very confident man these days, and people sometimes confuse confidence with arrogance. But I tell people I have two layers of confidence that make me feel indestructible. The first one is I know I can handle darkness because I've been to darkness. So I don't fear it, as strangely as that might sound, because I know I can go there and pull myself out of it. And the second thing is I know I can accomplish greatness because I've been to darkness. So I don't have there's no room for doubt in my brain. I don't even, doubt and fear make almost no sense to me, because why would I fear it? I've already been there. I know how to slay those dragons. I don't fear it.
So, to kind of add to that, in one of the interviews I watched, you mentioned you can't have faith in anxiety, and I thought that was super powerful. And if you could break that down for the
Bro,
people, to kind of
that got me in trouble too.
well, hey, listen, I'm a big fan of, if you connect, no matter how you connect with people, you've connected. Now they got something to say. If they feeling you, spamming you with negative stuff, that's that's more views for you and us. So let's keep the play going. So,
What they say, hit dog will holler.
Hit dog will holler.
Which I will say again, you don't have to like what I say, but you have to recognize I'm a credible source with which to say it. And what I mean when I say you can't have fear and anxiety, you can't have faith and fear, or faith and anxiety at the same time. The human, and people were trying to say that I was saying a person of faith can't have anxiety, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
will shift anything to fit their narrative, boy.
You would not believe what was going on. I was like, what is happening? But the human brain can only hold one thought at a time. As no matter how smart or complicated your brain is, it can only hold one thought at a time. So if in this moment I'm entertaining anxiety, then I'm not entertaining faith. And at this moment, if I'm entertaining faith, then I'm not entertaining anxiety. And I believe very, very strongly that if you lean in enough faith, then you lose the concept of fear. So I know if you're having anxiety, you're not leaning into your faithful spirit in that moment. So believe in yourself, believe in a higher power, believe in whatever it is you need to believe in, because in those moments, that's actually where you need to find the strength to believe in yourself and believe that things are going to work out well. Now, people are really good at doing that, except in the hard moments, but I actually think you need that in the hard moments.
I would argue that's the most important time.
Exactly.
Like it's easy to feel good when you're up, and to think positively and all these things, but it's like,
right,
when the back's against the wall, shit hits the fan now. But that goes back to that confidence, where it's like, I could understand, I don't agree, but I could understand how people could fight back on that comment.
Right.
But I would argue that they just haven't gotten to a place where they could conceptualize both. You know what I mean? Like, almost like
they weren't thinking about what I was saying. The best example I can give of this concept, you guys know who David Goggins is?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
David Goggins did an interview one time, and somebody asked him, what do you think about when you're running a 240-mile race? And he completes 240-mile races in like 3 days, like literally nothing doing for 3 days except running, eating, and sleeping. That's all he does for 3 days. And he said that I'm the toughest, baddest son of a bitch that ever walked on the planet. Da, da, da. And the interviewer said, do you actually believe that? And David Goggins said, doesn't matter whether it's true or not. I just need to believe it in that moment so I can take another step.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, that's what I mean by faith and anxiety. He doesn't allow the thought, I'm tired, or I'm cold, or I'm wet, or I'm hungry. He doesn't allow those thoughts in his head because he's convinced himself, I'm the toughest person that's ever lived. Is that accurate? Who knows? I just have to believe it in this moment so I can keep going. And I think all people need to practice that. Like, if I wake up tomorrow to some sort of a problem, am I the toughest son of a bitch that ever lived? Who knows? But I have to convince myself that that's true so I know I can get through this tough thing too.
They say that the phrase, if you tell a lie long enough, eventually it becomes the truth.
Yes.
I often wonder why, when it comes to that thing about belief, I often wonder what's the roadblock when it comes to lying to yourself initially for your development, right? Like I've had plenty of moments where I've had to tell myself things that just weren't my reality in the moment and that I didn't truly believe. But the longer I said that when it was towards my development, the more I noticed like it felt like the universe started manifesting things that made that statement relatable. And all of a sudden it was like, wait, I'm not lying to myself. This shit is true. Like I just gotta say this shit. Things are
Well,
coming my way. What do you think? What do you think it is that gets in the way of us being able to tell that lie for our development and our benefit?
fear. I think most people fear disappointment. And I would say shed that fear. Because like, and Bell, if I can keep picking on you for a second, the first time Bell said to somebody, like the first time he said out loud, I want to be a D1 football player, it probably sounded ridiculous. Right? The first time he,
especially because I didn't play football until I got to high school. So yes, I agree.
right. So the first time those words come out of your mouth, it sounds ridiculous. And most people are afraid to sound ridiculous, and they're afraid to deal with people talking to them as if they're ridiculous. But do it anyway. Do it anyway. Because the lessons you're going to learn from being in pursuit of your dream are far more powerful than the lessons you would learn for trying to avoid disappointment. And the difference between successful people and people who struggle to consistently succeed are those people are delusional in their ability to manifest things in the future, positive things in the future. Literally delusional. What Bell said to himself early in his life was delusional at the point at which he said it.
You know the best thing I did, I got nominated for a Grammy 2 years ago
That's
for the
crazy.
poetry.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Told my partner that I created the album with, every day we about to win this Grammy. We about to win. We have no publishing, no management, no nothing. We about to win every day of my life. Went for it again this year. Nominations were last Saturday or last Friday morning. I didn't get nominated this year. The best thing, and I don't think I told you this, Chief, or you either, Bell, the best thing out of not getting nominated this year was that the same belief I had that I was going to win this year, which I had, I still have it, even though I did not get nominated. Like my brain has now been officially permanently rewired to say the utmost level of success for whatever it is I want to achieve. And now I know that I cannot accomplish it and still feel just as confident in me speaking and believing in whatever it is that I want. And I wish that our listeners and more of us as Black men would understand the power of what they call delusion, man. Like that, living in that delusional state for your own benefit, I feel like is so empowering.
I think that is so true. I would love it if everybody who could hear this, like, go sound crazy.
Yeah.
Like when I tell people what I want to achieve, and I'll tell y'all a funny story. When I tell people what I want to achieve, if it doesn't sound crazy to them, I don't think I'm dreaming big enough.
Not big enough. Yep, 100%.
And I told y'all, like, when I got into my career, I really wanted to make mental health and solution focused brief therapy bigger than it was. And at some point, I come across this platform called The Breakfast Club. I told everybody who would listen to me one day I'm gonna be on The Breakfast Club. Now, my therapy practice is here in a suburb of Dallas at the time. Like, I don't know nobody in Hollywood. I don't know anybody in, like, there is nothing at all that would make me think this would happen. Nothing. I have no connections, nothing. I sent Charlemagne the God a DM. And I said, bro, you have a lot of mental health professionals on your platform. I happen to think I'm better and more articulate about this stuff than all of them. You need to have me on your platform. He never read that text, but I sent him a DM on Instagram in 2016. But then you fast forward, and in 2021, somebody in LA saw my content and said, are you interested in making a TV show? And I was like, sure. So we go through the process of negotiating TV contracts, and I have to find an entertainment attorney I have no idea how, but I land at this very good entertainment attorney in LA. And during one of our meetings, they said, "Do you want to know who else we represent at this?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, read off all these names. And one of the names, they said, Charlemagne the God. I said, "I need to meet him. Like, since you're his attorney and my attorney, I need you to connect us." Well, he never did it. He never did it. So about a year after that, by that time, I had met a woman named Tiffany Haddish who wanted to co-produce this TV project. And I was at Tiffany Haddish's house. And we were looking at her TV. And a commercial came on with Charlemagne the God in it. And I said, "Dang, I got to remember to have that attorney introduce me to him." And Tiffany went, "Who?" And I said, "Charlemagne the God. He's on your screen right there." She said, "You want to meet Charlemagne?" I said, "Yes." She picked up the phone and called this dude right then and there.
See?
And I get on the phone with him, and he was like, "Look, it's late. We were in LA. He's in New York." He's like, "It's late. Do you want to jump on a Zoom tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah." I got on the Zoom with him, and I said, "Hey, man, look at your Instagram messages from 5 years ago. I need to show you something."
Yeah.
He went and looked, and that struck up a friendship. And then one day, I was going to LA. I was going to New York, and we were going to meet for lunch. He was like, "Man, I'm busy. I can't meet for lunch, but do you want to do an interview?" And then, bam, I was on the Breakfast Club. That thing that I had said delusionally 6 years prior was now happening. I've now been on the Breakfast Club 3 times.
Love it.
And what I want people to get from that is like, be delusional, like be crazy. And if your ideas don't sound crazy to the people around you, get more people around you. Like, make sure your ideas sound crazy and find at least one person who believes that you can do it.
So shout out to you for just for putting it in the air. I spoke with Charlemagne at his mental health conference last year. It was like, "Yo, I'm gonna email." He's like, "Yeah, email me." Emailed him. He didn't respond back yet, so we still waiting for that call. Breakfast Club.
I'm actually gonna talk to him pretty soon. I'm gonna tell him to look for your email.
Word.
Hey, one thing I want to say, and I know we've been on for a while, so we're gonna get you off. But this is my opportunity to be a little vulnerable. So I'm in sales, right? And I've been in sales pretty much my whole career. And I had a mentor of mine. He had this line. His line was, "Hope is not a strategy." He would always say that. We're doing year-end reviews. It was like, "Oh, well, I hope I'm going to break this." He's like, "Hope is not a strategy." So I guess I need your help right now, because when I hear hope, I believe everything you said wholeheartedly. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, but you have to have a strategy too. You know what I mean? Like I guess what I'm saying is, in my mind, whether it's accurate or not, in my mind, hope isn't enough. It's like you have to be doing something in addition to hope, because I would venture to believe you didn't stop posting content after that 2016 email to Charlemagne the God, right?
No, I did not.
You kept moving forward with that hope, right? Like, hey, I'm going to be on there. Like I'm saying this aloud, but I'm moving forward. So I guess I just needed to say that, because I feel like I don't want our listeners to, and you coach me up, but I don't want our listeners to be like, all I got to do is hope it, and it'll show up, like I'm gonna just sit here and hope, and I hope I'll be okay, So that's the trigger that kept going on the back of my mind. It's like, hope is not a strategy. Like, what's the strategy? Like, how are we going to get there? So
right.
I wanted to share that.
Well, I think my brain went the opposite direction. Strategy without hope is useless. Like, if you told me, told me, let's say we're both football players, and you said, and let's say the coach came to me and said, "No matter how hard you work, no matter what you do, I'm never going to put you on the field." Then you've just removed my hope. Do you think I'm going to show up to practice early the next day or stay late the next day? Like, strategy without hope is useless. So, but I think you have to have both. You have to have hope and belief. And the strategy will manifest itself. Now, going back to my own craziness back in 2016, there was no strategy. I just knew, and here's a phrase that I want to introduce to y'all. Like, it's really important. And the phrase is called massive action. I knew I am not going to stop posting, writing books, giving lectures. I couldn't call it a strategy. A strategy means like I knew it would work.
That's fair.
I didn't know it would work, but I just knew I know that I want to be on the biggest hip hop platform talking about mental health. And I got so sick with it. Did you see the outfit, you guys? I had a blue hoodie with a Nike jacket. I knew the outfit I was going to wear 4 years before I met the dude. I was like, when I go to breakfast, I would watch the Breakfast Club and I would see people's outfits. I'm like, oh, they dress crazy. Like, I'm gonna go in there with a hoodie on. I knew it was gonna be in the winter. I knew that this is going to happen. So when it came time to happen, I just went like the thing in the closet. That's what I'm wearing on the Breakfast Club the first time I go up there. I also knew it was not going to be my last. So like I was so in tune because I had hope and belief. And when you have hope and belief, the strategy will just manifest itself. I don't need the strategy because I will never stop working. I will deploy what we refer to as massive action.
I love that. And I also want to tell our audience, the one thing I also love about you, Elliott, is you are truly authentic. So what if you're watching this on YouTube, what this man has on right now is what he goes speaks to at conferences in, right? Like a hoodie, especially that is his signature, which I love. I love that because again, when we're trying to deconstruct the brain on what mental health is and what it looks like and what the professionals look like, I don't remember the statistic, but we talked about it on many episodes ago in terms of how many therapists actually look like you who do the work you do. It's a very small number. So it's like, so if I want to be an Elliott Connie, right? Oh, I can show up as my true authentic self and do that work versus the stereotypical potential, white guy in the corner, shirt and tie, suited up, glasses, with a notebook, right? It's like, no, like I look like Elliott. So I can go do that too, right? Like now I can see myself in that role. So I wanted to make sure I shouted you out for our followers who aren't as familiar. Like you, how you're showing up today is how you show up in front of rooms of tens of thousands of people. So I appreciate that.
It's 100% true. And it was a journey for me. Like when I got my master's degree and I started going to conferences, I would put on like the uniform because I wanted people to respect me. And I wanted to dress how I thought therapists needed to dress. And I realized that they didn't respect me anyway. And after a few years, I didn't even recognize who I saw in the mirror. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this my way. And I wear Jordans and I wear sweatsuits and I wear hoodies. And they're just going to have to deal with me showing up as me. And it was the best decision I've made. It was good for my mental health. It was good for my brand. It was good for all that. But I literally did it because I was like, these people are attacking. I mean, being one of the only Black people publishing books and giving lectures in an academic setting, it was tough for a long time. Like these white people came after me. So in order for me to resist that, I had to put on my soldier uniform. You know what I mean? I had to put on like armor. I had to put on my work boots and my hard hat. Like, okay, if y'all want to fight, I got the uniform to do that. And it was the best, most gratifying thing I ever did.
I love that. I mentioned earlier when we started that I would right now I work in the inclusion space. I work for a tech company and I focus on innovative and inclusive innovation. And I quote you, I would argue once a month. You spoke about one of your white colleagues who you have a lot of respect for. And I believe they were a veteran in your space. But you talked about how as Black people, we face trauma every day, I believe is what you said. And then I believe it was a female. She said, you don't really believe that, do you? And then you were kind of taken back a little bit. And then you gave the analogy, which is what I give often. And the analogy you gave is if you're locked in a room with a venomous snake for 30 days, but that snake doesn't bite you to the 30th day, does that mean you did not deal with trauma on those 29 days? That's right. And I use that so often because it's a great one illustration and two depiction of how trauma can show up and not necessarily a physical form. You know what I mean? It's just like it could be implied, right? Or it can be just being. And when every time I tell someone that, they have that aha moment, like it sounds like she may have had when you had that conversation. So I again, I respect your work and I appreciate it, man. This is an honor.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Like I was shocked when she was shocked. I was like, why would you question me on this? Now I love the title of your podcast, like All Black Men Need Therapy. And I think the reason why that's true is because all black men and women in this country experience daily trauma. Because we live in a society that is anti our advancement and anti our accomplishing equality. Literally, a conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion triggers people into trying to dismantle those very constructs that are just about equability. We're not even asking to be paid back at this point. Like just make it equal. And it shocks me sometimes when people don't realize, like, all of us experience trauma on a daily basis. Sometimes it's subtle. Like this past weekend, I was watching a football game and a police officer went and literally like shoulder checked into two players during the game.
Yep.
And I was like, and if you watch the officer, it was really interesting what that officer did. That man, if you watch the play, he's running down the sideline and he grabs his hamstring. Now, anybody who's ever played athletics know when you've pulled your hamstring while you're running, the hardest thing in the world to do is stop. Like that's going to cause you more pain and particularly deeper injury. So he trots into the tunnel. The police officer follows him into the tunnel, body checks him, and then just walks back out of the tunnel. So he can't even say, I was walking that way and like absolutely bumped into him. He walked that way to bump into these people and then walked back out of the tunnel. When I watched that, I watched the assertion of police officer dominance, white police officer dominance to be specific. So when I say like all black men experience trauma, we got to watch that shit. And I got to start thinking to myself, this man did that while every camera on earth was on him in front of about 60,000 people in that stadium. What does he do when he just pulls me over on the side of the road at 12 midnight when I'm just running to the store to grab something because I ran out of toilet paper? That scares the hell out of me. Like, that's what you did in front of Earth? What are you doing when there's no lights or cameras on you? That terrifies me.
Agreed. And that's how this podcast started. Because in 2020, though it wasn't happening like this, it felt like every 2 weeks we were witnessing someone who looked like us dying on live TV. And it's
not only that, bro, they were dying on live TV, and then those deaths were being justified on social media. Like, what was killing me in 2020 is people saying stuff like, if he would have just complied, or I was like, come on, man, like, y'all can't say this. You can't really believe this shit.
And they do. They do believe that shit, and they mean it.
I know they do.
And that's what it was. We were like, you can't consume all of this and just keep suppressing it. Like, it's going to come out. Something is going to happen. Like, how do we release ourselves of it? And that's where the birth of the podcast came from, because it's like we can't just sit with this. We have to talk about how it's affecting us, because we know we're not alone. So that's exactly the origin story of our podcast. So listen, man, I know we've had you on forever. I can't thank you enough. This has been great for me.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we all feel the same.
Well, thank y'all for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Chief, you're muted. You're talking. We can't hear you, brother.
My bad. So yes, it's definitely dope, man. We would absolutely love to have you again. This conversation was powerful.
Please.
We would definitely love to have you again. It's interesting too.
Maybe we just all go in the Breakfast Club and just do this.
Hey, listen, tell Charlamagne, hey, any of y'all tapped in with Charlamagne, tell him to holler at us, man. We talked for a week after the mental health thing. He was like, yeah, email me, man. I emailed him. Crickets. But you know,
I'm gonna talk to him soon, and I'm gonna tell him about your podcast. Tell him to find your email.
And I appreciate you, man, because you I was gonna ask you, what are your thoughts on the words "all black men need therapy"? You jumped right into that, and it was just a cool segue to wrap up the episode. So post each episode, Elliott, we like to do a final thought, man. We just kind of reflect on all that was said and give a little gem about it. I do want to give one more thing, a quote you said in that episode on the Breakfast Club that I thought was super, super powerful. You said, life is a turbulent flight. It's a therapist's job to make you a better pilot.
Yes.
And I'm like,
That's true.
that super profound. I was like, that's a dope statement right there because we do experience a lot of
Well, I
turbulence and
think. Well, here's the final thought I'll give. I think people spend a lot of time trying to smoothen out their lives instead of recognizing the turbulence itself is actually a gift. So embrace the turbulence and just be the best pilot that you can because the turbulence itself is actually a gift. And there's a saying that smooth water never made a great salesman. Uh, Sailor. There you go. Smooth water never made a great sailor. And I'm as proud of the turbulence as I am of the accomplishments because I'm aware the accomplishments wouldn't have happened without the turbulence. So spend zero of your time trying to smooth out the path and spend all of your time trying to be a master pilot.
that's dope.
I
That's
love that.
dope. Prentice, talk to us, B. Final thought.
I ain't never had nobody give a final thought to make me want to just shut up and not say nothing. So that's my first thought. This has been so enlightening for me. So incredibly enlightening, man. I'm so grateful that you chose to hop on our podcast. Um, my final thought is I have literally spent the last probably 30 minutes thinking about who I want to be when I go back upstairs to this family.
I love that.
Um, and starting there, I know a couple of things that I need to get done, but who I want to be when I walk back upstairs um, in front of them and starting with that right now and making sure that I wake up and ask myself the same question. Who I want to be and am I happy with, becoming that person. So thank you for the gems. My final thought is really thank you because this has been one of the best conversations I've ever been a part of. So I'm grateful. Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm grateful, brother. Nice to know you.
Go ahead. Talk to us, baby. Final thought.
Final thought, go buy my man's book. Follow Elliott Connie on all social media platforms. I'm grateful. That's my final thought. Like I'm just grateful, man, to have this platform that Chief and I initially started. Prentice came on 6 months later. Um, to think that, you know, we are just doing this so we don't, self-destruct more or less. And then to hear the responses from people that get a lot from our podcast and our platform, and then to have someone that we look up to in the space then come share wisdom on this podcast to only amplify our message while having a licensed therapist on. For me, it's just a full circle moment, and I'm just super grateful, and I'm appreciative of candor. I'm appreciative of real life conversations and an acknowledgement that, to your point, Elliot, like the the flight's going to be turbulent. There's no
Yes,
way around it, right? Like you can't avoid it. Just learn how to navigate it, right? Just become a better pilot. And that's the tools, right? That's the tools that you use to do that. And I'm grateful to have brothers like yourself in my corner and that listen and that I'm grateful to be on this journey with you all. So I'm just grateful. That's my final thought.
That's what's up, bro. For me, once again, I appreciate just sharing the space with you, brothers, man. I grow each and every week we have this conversation. Elliot, I appreciate you for joining us. My it's a lot of gems I took from it. I normally write my notes, but there's so much on that paper right there. I think what's sticking out to me right now when I look at it is just massive action. I
Hmm.
think in regards to whatever you're doing, if it's your journey in mental health growth, massive action. You want to do social media, massive action. You want to be a better family man, massive action. I think you can. It applies to. It's applicable to anything you do in life.
That's
You do
right.
the work, and the good things are going to come.
That's right.
Surround yourself with good people who are going to check you and hold you accountable and help you grow in the process. Um, so yeah, that's my final thought. We are dropping episodes every Friday, y'all. Every Friday we dropping these episodes, and we want y'all to continue to tap in with us. Do us a favor, and for certainly go cop our man Elliott's book. He got a hell of them, but this one is the hottest one on the market right now. Go ahead and cop this joint, and support the brother. You
I
can
purchased while we were recording, by the way, the audio version. So I
right.
got you.
You can
Thank you.
follow good brother Elliott on Instagram at Elliott Speaks, Solution Focused Universe, Family Therapy Podcast, and ElliottConnie.com. Go check the brother out. Do your research. Hit him up. Clearly an approachable man and works with the folks. So do yourself a favor and get a piece of his knowledge in your world. Um, Again, y'all, we created this platform to create a safe space for Black men to openly engage in conversations around mental health. We here every week. Please be sure to tap in with us. You can hit us up at allblackmenneedtherapy@gmail.com. We even have a voice line, y'all, at 860-410-6160. Give us a call, leave us a message, shoot us a text. Let us know if you got something on your spirit that you want us to talk about, and we will make it happen. That's all I got for today. Elliott, again, salute to you, brother. Thank you for coming. We would love to have you back. Um, Obviously, if you want to throw that lob up to Charlemagne for us, Bell,
I'm going to talk to him soon, and I will holler at him.
Bell could walk in the gym right now, windmill, and I used to jump over cars for fun. So we're going to catch it. You know what I'm saying? So, Prentice.
Look, I promise I'm going to mention y'all to him. I promise.
I appreciate it.
Definitely appreciate that. Hey, y'all, we're going to wrap this episode like we normally do every time. So do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
Do it.
And tomorrow.
Do that shit.
We out, y'all.